Every morning you wake up, you're handed a blank page. The story you write depends not on what you wish for, but what you do repeatedly. Your habits, the small choices you make daily, are the invisible architects of your destiny. Success doesn't come from one grand gesture. It comes from those tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions that compound over time. If you're unhappy with where you are, look at what you repeatedly do. Because here's the truth: change your habits, and your life will change. Every action you take is a seed you're planting, and every day becomes a garden where your results grow. But what kind of seeds are you planting? Most people never stop to realize that the life they are living is the echo of their most repeated behaviors. Your mind doesn't work by chance. It operates by rhythm, by repetition, by habit. Thought is the beginning, but repetition is the engine that turns it into reality. You become what you practice. Not once, not twice, but continually. The man who desires success yet walks the path of laziness is chasing a dream without legs. And that dream will never run, never walk, never live. If your dominant daily actions don't match the picture of the life you want, then you're only fooling yourself. A dream without habit is just a wish, and wishes are weightless. They never leave the ground. Greatness never bursts into existence in a single moment. It is assembled piece by piece through discipline, through consistency. Through invisible victories no one celebrates. Most people want transformation, but they avoid repetition. They're chasing magic instead of mastery. But there is no magic, only deliberate thoughts fused with definite actions. Habits are the quiet builders of destiny. You can't escape them. They work for you or they work against you. When your thoughts are powerful but your habits are weak, the result is frustration. You know you're meant for more, but your life won't reflect it. That disconnect is where most people live, a constant tug of war between who they want to be and who they allow themselves to be through habit. If you could see the invisible tracks you lay down every day with your actions, you'd understand that each decision is building momentum. You'd see that brushing off one small discipline isn't just about that moment. It's about weakening the entire system of self-control. It's about letting your mind be ruled by impulses instead of intentions. But when you reverse that, when you commit to even the smallest action that aligns with your higher purpose, you activate a power inside you that compounds. A power that doesn't shout but moves mountains over time. You are not the result of your circumstances. You are the result of your repeated choices. Your habits are the mirror that reflects your inner standards. And the standard you tolerate is the life you get. Raise your standard, and you must raise your habits. You cannot separate the two. The man who wants wealth but maintains the habits of poverty will always stay broke. The woman who desires love but entertains the habits of insecurity will always feel alone. Life reflects not what you want, but what you habitually do. When you finally wake up to this truth, you no longer chase outcomes. You begin to master inputs. You understand that everything you want is hidden inside your daily actions. Nothing is missing except your commitment to a higher rhythm. When you master your rhythm, you master your reality. There are no exceptions. The man who writes every day becomes an author. The one who studies wealth every day becomes financially wise. The one who trains his mind for courage every day becomes unstoppable. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And design is the domain of habit. Every great achievement you admire was built on a foundation of boring, consistent habits that most people overlook. Success is not exciting in the process. It's only exciting in the result. But the ones who win fall in love with the process. They fall in love with the habit itself. They know that repetition builds strength just as lifting weights builds muscle. There's no shortcut around repetition. The athlete trains even when no one is watching. The visionary writes even when no one is reading. The builder builds even when the crowd is silent. It's the habit that produces the reward, not the moment of inspiration. Most people look for hacks, for easier paths, for shortcuts. But there are no shortcuts to becoming the person you were meant to be. There is only the path of daily discipline, and that path is made visible through your habits. What you do each day is either moving you forward or pulling you backward. There's no neutral ground. If you are not deliberately crafting new habits, then old ones are running the show. And most of those old habits were installed by accident, through fear, through distraction, through imitation of people who never truly lived. It's time to stop living by accident. It's time to live by design. And the blueprint of that design is drawn with your daily habits. You want to change your life? Change what you do when you wake up. Change what you allow into your mind. Change the way you speak to yourself. Change how you react under pressure. These small shifts, repeated, rewire your future. You are not bound by the past unless you continue to live its habits. But the moment you begin to act like the person you want to become, your future bends in that direction. Thoughts are the roots, habits are the trunk, results are the fruit. But it all begins beneath the surface with what you feed your mind, what you command your body to do, and what you repeat without fail. There is no destiny that bypasses this law. The invisible law of repetition governs all success. It is not the man who acts once with passion that changes the world. It is the one who acts every day with discipline. Passion fades, discipline stays, and habit is discipline made automatic. Now understand this, big dreams require small habits. The higher you want to rise, the deeper your habits must be rooted. They must be anchored in your identity, in your purpose, in your faith in the unseen, because results don't show up immediately. And that's where most people fail. They give up because they don't see change fast enough. But success doesn't reward impatience. It rewards faith, and faith is built through action repeated in the absence of results. You keep showing up not because of what you see, but because of what you believe. That's the power of habit. It turns belief into being. The moment you understand that each day is a rehearsal for your future, you stop wasting time. You stop letting small distractions destroy big opportunities. You stop giving energy to things that don't multiply your purpose. You begin to build a system, and that system becomes your superpower. Because most people live in chaos. Their minds are scattered, their days are reactive. But when you build habits aligned with your highest purpose, you begin to operate with focus, with intention, with power. And when you do that, you start creating your future instead of waiting for it. But don't just focus on breaking bad habits. Replace them. Every negative pattern you abandon must be replaced with a positive one. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you remove a bad habit but leave that space empty, it will be filled again, usually with something just as destructive. So be intentional. Replace laziness with learning. Replace gossip with gratitude. Replace fear with focused action. Replace consumption with creation. When you do this deliberately, your life begins to reflect your true potential. Your habits reveal your true desire. Not your words, not your goals, not your intentions. If you say you want success, but your habits show comfort, then comfort is your true God, and it will own you. But when your habits match your hunger, the world makes room for your growth. The universe bends to the man or woman who refuses to negotiate with mediocrity, and that refusal is made visible through action, not talk, through what you do when no one is watching, through what you repeat when you're tired, discouraged, or unsure. That's the testing ground, and your habits are your response. The smallest act, done daily, becomes the cornerstone of a new future. Don't underestimate the power of one shift, one change in your morning routine, one change in the way you respond to setbacks, one decision to read instead of scroll, one commitment to speak life instead of doubt. These are not trivial. These are the levers of destiny. And when you pull them consistently, your life shifts. Not instantly, but inevitably. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to create a rhythm that supports your growth. Let your habits become a ritual of belief in your future. Let them speak louder than your doubts. Let them become a covenant between who you are and who you are becoming. Because the person you're becoming is built one habit at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. And remember, nothing changes until you do. And the way you change is not by motivation, not by willpower alone. You change by installing habits so powerful, so aligned with your vision, that failure becomes harder than success. That is possible. That is available. But only for those who commit not just to dreaming big, but to acting small daily with discipline, until their life catches up with their vision. Every human being is either rising or falling, and it is not fate that determines the direction. It is the habits they practice without question. Look closely at the patterns that govern your day. Some of them you chose. Most of them were inherited, absorbed, or unconsciously repeated from your environment, your childhood, or your past struggles. You wake up and your habits take over. You speak the same words. You react with the same emotions. You entertain the same doubts. You follow the same path. But here's the truth that most never stop to grasp: your habits are not neutral. They are either lifting you to greatness or pulling you into regret. And that means every habit is either a key or a jail cell. Most people want freedom. They dream of financial independence, inner peace, joy, vibrant relationships, meaningful work. But they fail to recognize that the chains holding them back are self-imposed and forged from tiny daily actions. The habit of procrastination seems small. The habit of gossip feels harmless. The habit of negativity appears normal. But these are mental weeds slowly choking your potential. And like all weeds, they grow quietly. They don't scream when they take root. They whisper. They blend in. Until one day you wake up and your life doesn't reflect your dreams. It reflects your excuses. No jail is built overnight. Neither is a masterpiece. Every person is building something through repetition. The question is not whether you're building. The question is, what are you building with your daily habits? You don't need to look at your goals to know where your life is headed. Look at your habits. They are the silent architects of your future. They will either confine you to a reality you hate or release you into the life you crave. The walls of your current limitations are often constructed by what you allow yourself to tolerate every day. Every moment is an invitation to install a habit that unlocks your freedom. The discipline to wake up early, the decision to read instead of scroll, the courage to speak truth instead of hiding. These small shifts are the keys. They don't shout. They don't sparkle. But they open doors that have remained locked for years. The man who wakes with purpose every day despite fatigue is holding a key. The woman who exercises when it's easier to rest is holding a key. The person who studies after failure is holding a key. Freedom is not earned in one act of passion. It is carved through steady, unshakable commitment to higher habits. There's a dangerous lie that whispers to many minds that one day life will change without effort, that someday a spark will ignite and suddenly you'll become the version of yourself you admire. But freedom doesn't arrive as a gift. It is forged. It is earned. It is sculpted. And the tools of that sculpting are your habits. You can wish for success. You can visualize abundance. You can speak affirmations. But if your habits contradict your words, your life will follow the habits, because your subconscious mind believes what you do, not what you say. It watches every action, every routine, every repeated behavior. And from that, it forms your self-image, your confidence, your identity. If your habits say you're powerful, your mind aligns. If your habits say you're weak, your mind obeys that command. So examine your day with brutal honesty. Which of your habits are prison bars dressed as comfort? Which behaviors feel good but steal your future? Which routines are preserving your limits while pretending to protect your peace? Be ruthless with them. Cut them loose. Replace them. Because you can't build freedom while holding on to chains. You have to let go of familiar suffering to embrace unfamiliar greatness. That's the price. That's the path. And when you do, something incredible happens. When you replace destructive habits with disciplined ones, you begin to feel your mind shifting. Confidence grows. Clarity sharpens. Energy increases. Not because the world outside has changed, but because you've realigned with the power inside you. And once your habits reflect strength, your life begins to reflect victory. Because your external world mirrors your internal systems. But this transformation demands another ingredient, one that most resist because it doesn't feel glamorous. It doesn't feel thrilling, it feels strict. That ingredient is discipline, and it is the gateway to all forms of freedom. Discipline is often misunderstood. People associate it with restriction, with rigidity, with rules. But discipline is not a cage. It is a compass. It does not imprison you. It protects you. It doesn't suppress joy. It amplifies it. Because when you live with discipline, you stop living at the mercy of your moods. You stop being a slave to circumstance. You stop allowing emotion to dictate execution. And that in its highest form is freedom. The disciplined man can say no to distraction. The disciplined woman can keep promises to herself. The disciplined mind can stay focused in chaos. This kind of strength is not born from motivation. It is born from a decision to do what must be done, regardless of how you feel. Because feelings are temporary, but outcomes are permanent. Discipline builds outcomes that last. If you look at any person who has mastered their craft, who has achieved success in any area, you will find that discipline, not luck, paved their road. They didn't rely on feeling ready. They relied on ritual. They didn't wait for inspiration. They acted in its absence. And by doing so, they created a level of freedom others only talk about. Financial freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, none of these come from wishing. They come from working, showing up, staying focused, refusing to quit. That is the quiet power of discipline. You may not control every event in your life. You may not control who hurt you, who doubted you, who left you. But you do control your habits. You do control whether or not you train your mind each day. You control if you feed it fear or faith. You control whether you run from pain or grow through it. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce the belief that you are in control, that your life is not happening to you, it's responding to you. There will always be a war inside you. The battle between what's easy and what's necessary, between what's comfortable and what's correct. But discipline is the sword that wins that battle. It silences excuses. It destroys delay. It carries you through the storm when motivation runs dry. It is the steel spine behind every consistent action. And when repeated, it becomes second nature. It becomes who you are. You must begin to see yourself as a person of discipline. Not someone who tries, but someone who is. Not someone who starts, but someone who finishes. Identity is built through consistent action. You don't become disciplined by declaring it. You become disciplined by doing disciplined things until it becomes your normal, until it becomes strange not to do them. That is how transformation happens, not in bursts but in cycles, not in hype but in habit. Discipline, repeated, reshapes you. And from that, the real rewards emerge, the ability to trust yourself, the pride of consistency, the quiet joy of progress, the inner peace that comes from knowing you're not hiding from your potential. These are not things others can give you. They must be earned, they must be lived into. And they are built through the daily practice of doing what must be done, even when the world offers distractions, temptations, delays, and doubts. So if you desire freedom, chase discipline first. If you seek peace, build structure first. If you want fulfillment, train consistency first. Because the road to the life you dream of is paved with things that most people avoid. And that's why most people stay stuck. But not you. Because you now understand that the real enemy is not the challenge in front of you. It's the habits behind you. And the real ally is not some future version of you. It's the daily discipline you choose right now. You are always being shaped, either by unconscious comfort or conscious choice, either by lazy impulses or deliberate principles. The more you choose discipline over default, the stronger your foundation becomes. And one day, that foundation becomes unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And it all began when you refused to be ruled by your feelings and started being ruled by your vision. A vision powered by habits. A vision protected by discipline. A vision that creates the life others only talk about, but never build. There's a silent force shaping your life, and most people never recognize it. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand your attention, but it moves beneath every decision, every behavior, every belief. That force is your environment. You are not just the result of your thoughts. You are also the product of your surroundings. You may carry within you a dream so vivid it burns in your soul, but if your environment constantly contradicts that vision, it will slowly wear down your energy, poison your focus, and dilute your drive. The truth is simple yet profound. If you don't intentionally design the environment that supports your highest self, you will unconsciously adapt to the one that maintains your current self. Look at the people you speak with most. Are their conversations igniting your potential or feeding your limitations? Are their habits a mirror of what you wish to become or a shadow of what you fear to remain? Because every conversation carries weight. Every relationship is either a bridge or a barrier. If you surround yourself with individuals who normalize mediocrity, who criticize growth, who resist change, you will find it increasingly difficult to stay committed to your dreams. Not because you lack willpower, but because you are fighting gravity. And the gravity of environment is real. It pulls on your beliefs, on your mindset, on your emotions every single day. Your habits do not exist in isolation. They are rooted in soil. That soil is your surroundings. What you see, hear, and experience repeatedly will either reinforce the life you want or slowly drain it out of you. The books on your shelf, the voices in your ear, the spaces you occupy, even the tone of your own home, these things matter more than you think. You become desensitized to the low standards around you, and soon they become your own, not because you intended to settle, but because you allowed yourself to adapt. If you want to change your behavior, start by changing what's around you. Upgrade your inputs. Be ruthless with what you let into your mind. Refuse to listen to those who have not walked the path you seek. Don't argue with people whose dreams died long ago. Their fear is contagious. Their doubt is invasive. Protect your space with the intensity of someone who knows their future depends on it. Because it does. One toxic voice can undo weeks of progress. One discouraging presence can delay years of destiny. And one empowering circle can accelerate a lifetime of success. People rise or fall to the expectations of those around them. So place yourself among those who expect excellence, not excuses. Be in rooms where your vision isn't seen as arrogance, but as standard. Where your ambition isn't mocked, but mirrored. Where your growth is not intimidating, but celebrated. The moment you step into such an environment, something shifts inside you. You begin to act differently, think differently, believe differently. Not out of force, but because you're finally aligned. You may have been born into conditions you didn't choose. You may have grown up in chaos. You may have been surrounded by limitation for years. But you are not a tree. You can move. You can choose. You can create new conditions. You can design an environment that reflects your future, not your past. Start by removing what weakens you. Start by surrounding yourself with those who have already walked the road you desire to travel. Learn from them. Observe them. Absorb their energy. The fastest way to become someone new is to be around people who live the way you want to live. Their example will overwrite your programming faster than any lecture or book, because we learn through osmosis. We mirror what we see. The law of association is one of the most powerful forces in personal transformation. But it only works when applied consciously. You can't become a master while living among doubters. You can't build strength while sitting in circles of fear. You can't talk about faith and breathe in cynicism. It's a contradiction that fractures your focus. You must choose your environment like a warrior chooses their armor. Because it's not just protection, it's preparation. It either equips you or exposes you. There is no neutral ground. And once you've crafted an environment that elevates you, everything becomes easier. Motivation feels natural. Discipline feels joyful. Focus feels sharp. You stop battling resistance and start flowing with momentum. Success no longer feels like a mountain. It feels like a rhythm. Because your surroundings are no longer sabotaging you. They are supporting you. That shift alone can shorten the distance between dream and reality in ways no tactic or strategy ever could. But environment alone isn't enough. It must connect to a force even deeper, even more powerful. That force is definite purpose. Without a definite purpose, discipline fades. Without purpose, even the best environment becomes a luxury, not a launch pad. Purpose gives direction. Purpose gives clarity. Purpose turns habits into rituals and routines into sacred contracts with the future. A man with purpose doesn't waste time because every moment matters. A woman with purpose doesn't seek validation because her mission is her motivation. Purpose gives your habits meaning. It transforms repetition into revolution. When you truly discover your purpose, your entire being begins to organize around it. Your thoughts align. Your emotions stabilize. Your decisions become simpler. Not because life gets easier, but because you finally know what matters. Clarity eliminates confusion, and purpose births clarity. No more wondering what to do. No more battling between options. Your purpose becomes your compass. Your habits become your tools. Your discipline becomes your shield. But purpose is not found by accident. It is discovered through introspection, through silence, through questions that most never dare to ask. Who am I when the world isn't watching? What am I willing to suffer for? What mission makes my fears feel irrelevant? These are not casual questions. They are life-altering ones. And once you answer them, you will never be the same. The reason most people remain stuck isn't because they lack talent. It's because they lack direction. They have no definite chief aim. They react. They wait for motivation to appear. But when you lock onto your purpose, motivation becomes irrelevant. You don't need to feel like working. You want to. You don't need someone to remind you of your goals. They're etched into your soul. You become a force. You become unstoppable. Because your habits are now tied to something greater than comfort. They are tied to destiny. Every morning you're given a choice. Continue with habits that serve distraction, or build the ones that serve purpose. Purpose is the only thing that gives suffering a meaning. It is what turns pressure into power. It is what turns obstacles into opportunities. Without purpose, pain is just pain. But with it, pain becomes part of your preparation. Purpose rewires your nervous system to see challenge not as a threat, but as confirmation. You know you're on the right path not because it's easy, but because it tests you. Purpose makes you immune to pettiness. You stop arguing about things that don't matter. You stop comparing your life to others. You stop wasting energy on opinions that don't build your vision. Purpose sharpens your attention. It magnifies your energy. It upgrades your resilience. When you live with purpose, every setback becomes a setup. Every delay becomes a detour with meaning. Every no becomes a necessary step to the right yes. But purpose alone cannot sustain action unless it is reinforced by habit. That's where your power lies, not just in knowing your mission, but in building rituals that protect it. You must schedule your purpose. Guard it like a treasure. Build your day around it. Align your environment with it. Let your calendar reflect your priorities. Let your behavior reveal your belief in it. Because belief without behavior is just a fantasy, and purpose without habits is just a dream. So build habits that echo your mission. Speak words that match your vision. Think thoughts that reflect your future. Surround yourself with people who reinforce your fire. Don't just work hard, work with direction. Don't just repeat tasks. Ritualize them with meaning. Don't just survive the day, structure it around your destiny. You may feel far from the life you imagine, but you're never more than one aligned habit away from a breakthrough. One new decision, one upgraded circle, one honest reflection. That's how the journey begins. And once it begins, it cannot be stopped, unless you stop. But if you keep walking, keep building, keep aligning, then you will feel it momentum. That unseen energy that carries the ones who dare to match their habits with their purpose. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need anyone's permission. You need a purpose so strong it humbles your excuses. A reason so real it makes your fears irrelevant. A vision so vivid that compromise becomes unthinkable. And once you find that, once you breathe life into it through disciplined habits and empowering surroundings, your life transforms. Not because someone saved you, but because you remembered who you were meant to be, and you became it one habit at a time.